Hey friends, and welcome to Mom Talk Maryland. I'm your host, Claire Duarte, founder of the Columbia Mom, and this is your spot for real conversations, local love, and a whole lot of community. Whether you're folding laundry, running errands, or hiding in your car for some peace and quiet, let's dive in. Ready to get started?
Yes.
Yes.
As ready as I'll ever be.
I know. That's what I have to tell myself every single day. Katherine, I'm so excited to have you on today. Obviously, we recently had Risa Ganell on, and we got to talk about everything relating to the upcoming workshop, diving into what exactly is RLT, how that's different from couples, as we may say, even though, ironically, on the reel, I titled it Couples Expert because, you know, I would still say that's kind of what she is, what you guys are, what you do, You know what I mean? Even though we're going to talk about exactly why it's what you guys do isn't couples as we know it, for instance.
Yeah. Still definitely relationship therapy, couples therapy.
Right.
Still that. It's just a different approach.
Exactly. Right. It's different approach, different modality. Obviously, like I know it too is kind of like a different I was going to say what the word is escaping, kind of just like a different, not a different type. I remember I was trying to extract the information from my brain, but from my master's class when we were learning all the different types of therapy. Anyways, my brain is failing me. But anyways, before we dive into all of those things, Katherine, can you share with us a little bit more, first of all, about yourself, about your background, and how you got linked with RLT and Risa?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Katherine Petzold. I'm an LCSWC, which is social work by trade. And this is my second career. My first career was as a singer-songwriter. And I performed and played shows all around the world and got interested in my path kind of to this place is got interested in anti-human trafficking and started to do some volunteering and then the fellowship at Polaris, which is an anti-human trafficking organization located in DC, and then decided that I could do the most help if I went back to school for social work, which if you ever told my 20-year-old self that I was going to go back to school, she would have been shocked. I worked as a therapist and then also did a lot of presentations around human trafficking and anti-human trafficking with an FBI agent. We did a couple of things together and worked on developing a program at a local outpatient mental health clinic, and then went into private practice. And I got interested in couples because I'm married, and this is interesting stuff. And a lot of parts of myself were activated in intimate relationships. It's different than what's activated in friendships or in other relationships. And so this kind of my interest in couples therapy was born out of my interest in my own relationship and trying to understand myself and how I could show up in the way that I want to show up in my relationship and have the kind of relationship that I want. One of the things that especially attracted me to RLT was the direct nature of it.
Yeah.
I want to know, what am I doing that's getting in my own way? I can handle that. And in fact, rather than me kind of guessing or not seeing it or whatever, I want someone to trust me enough to tell me the truth about what it is that I'm doing that's keeping me from getting what I really desire. And then through getting certified in RLT, we went to the boot camp facilitator training together in Colorado. And there we said, hey, let's do this together. And so that's when we embarked on doing this workshop. We've done several now, and we're doing it twice a year, and it's just been a lot of fun. That's awesome. Really satisfying. And then also just to place myself, I'm a cisgender, heterosexual 47-year-old woman and have all the blind spots and privileges that that entails, and yeah, so that's kind of my location in our culture.
I love that. Random question for you. I was just because I loved hearing. I mean, Reese had mentioned that you were a singer, and
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that as your background too. But at what age were you, if you don't mind me asking, when you went back to grad school? I'm just curious.
I don't mind you asking at all. I was 36, and then I graduated at 38 with my newborn. Like, I have a picture of her like on my breast friend pillow, and I'm
Yeah.
studying for final. And it's
Oh,
like, wow. She walked,
right?
I carried her across the stage with me at graduation. It was fun.
Oh my God. Wait, did you say, sorry, you went back, was it 26? You went back?
36.
Okay.
36, Claire. I'm an old mom. I'm a geriatric mother.
I love it all.
And I had twins at 40.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yeah, I know. I have aged about 1,000 years since then.
That's only because the kids will age you. Nothing else will.
Yes.
Right. Oh my God. Well, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, I went back. I mean, I graduated too, and I can share the experience of feeling like I graduated from college and didn't know what I wanted to fully do with my life, and had different jobs and different things, and then slowly was like, I want to become a therapist. And it's funny because I definitely didn't become a therapist, but
It's not too late, Claire. It's not too late.
I know. Wouldn't that just be funny if that was my next chapter? I'm like, I'm gonna be an influencer, but also, you never know. The problem is, sorry, this is just a complete tangent, and this is what we do on these things, is I feel like all the licensure stuff has changed, it's always changing. And I'm sure all the hours that I had gotten from interns, I feel like I would have to redo all of that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like I have all the credits, but I probably have to redo the internship. Do you know what I mean? Because the hours have to be with like recent, and then have to get the additional credits. So those are my hurdles.
Yes. But none are too big.
Yeah. But none are
I have no agenda
right
here. No agenda.
At the same time. I guess that's the problem. I can be just as easily influenced into many things. So maybe I should spend time with you. That's probably why you're good at RLT. Risa was good at kind of like, she heard the information and she took it in very nicely, and she didn't nudge me. Maybe that's what makes you guys a good duo.
It's funny because we laugh about it because we both have like very different energies, and so in the boot camp, people have commented on like, you guys are a nice pairing because you have such different energies. So it's kind of nice how you play off one another.
Right. Yes, it's so true. So yeah, to recap out the workshop, it's coming up. We're almost about a month away now.
We are.
I know. I'm not sure, like, looking at your calendar, like that would be me.
I was looking at the calendar. What? August 19th.
What? I know. Right. September 20th and 21st, correct?
You got it.
Yes. In Annapolis, Maryland. And they're both, it's 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 5, correct?
9:30 to 5:30.
Oh, sorry, 9:30 to 5:30. And you can come as an individual or as a couple. The best way I think that Reese explained to me too is that, this is for all types of relationships. Can be friend, parental, like, it's all about RLT. It's all about how you relate to one another. And even though I would say that I do, well, my current therapist is also RLT.
Oh, awesome.
She doesn't host work, well, and she's learned from him or taken, some of his workshops and things like that.
Are you comfortable sharing who your therapist is?
Ann Waller.
Oh, okay. I don't know her. Darn. Yeah. I always love making the connections. So I was just
right.
When I
know.
Yeah.
She's full, ladies.
I'm keeping her schedule completely.
That's right. That's right. She's been booked and busy since COVID.
Personally.
Probably because I won't ever get off her books. I keep trying to get off them, and then I keep coming back. But that's what therapy is. That's right.
That's part of it. It's we're never kind of finished the work. We go in cycles and take pauses and coast for time, and then something comes up and it gives us a chance to work on something.
I know. It's so true. So let's talk a little bit more about RLT, or relational life therapy. And from your lens, obviously we got to talk about it a lot with Risa. What would you say, like, what RLT does that other therapies can't?
Yeah. Well, what RLT does that I really like, which is again what attracted me to it, is that it's not just kind of letting couples flounder on their own around like, how do they feel about something? How do you feel about that? It's really direct, and it's getting at the part of you. One of the most common complaints that couples have is we can't communicate. We don't know how to communicate. And people are pretty smart. Like, they can read books. They know how to communicate. They know how to communicate when they're not activated. It's when I'm activated, I don't give a shit about communicating. When I'm activated, I go into self-protection. That's true for all of us. That's kind of what RLT posits. And so when you go into self-protection, which we call adaptive child, is your only job is to protect yourself. Your only job is to make sure that you're safe. And it's a very short-term way of thinking. In relationship, when we are in the part of us that is grounded, that's not activated, we're able to think more long-term, and we're thinking more about protecting the relationship rather than just protecting myself. So, like, for example, one of the examples that I give my clients, and don't worry, this hasn't actually happened, but we talk about RLT as a 3-part person system. So there's wounded child, adaptive child, wise adult.
Mm-hmm.
Wounded child is a very young, vulnerable part. Something has happened that has wounded this child, impacted by their environment. And the adaptation comes and says, let me protect you from that. Here's what I'm going to do to maximize attachment to your caregivers, to maximize the world accepting you, to maximize protecting your wound. And then there's wise adult, which is the current version of ourselves. So my adaptive child, I call her the motherfucker in charge. And the example I use is I'm in the Target parking lot, and I like have my blinker on, and there's this like really good parking spot right up at the front, and I'm all ready to get in it. And then another car whoosh goes and peels into the parking spot. And so my wound doesn't know I'm in the Target parking lot. My wound is just like, oh my gosh, you're not going to get what you need. And so my adaptation then says, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of this. Let me get out the crowbar, and I'm going to go get that parking spot for you.
Oh, dang. This is good.
And my wise adult goes, whoa. Like, I really appreciate you. You are trying to get me this thing that you think I need, right? It's short-term thinking. It's going to get me the parking spot. The long-term problem is that I'm going to be in the newspaper like local therapist loses it in the Target parking lot. The problem is long-term, I'm going to go to jail because I've lost it in the Target parking lot. Like, my adaptive child is thinking, I got to protect you. I got to get you this thing. My wise adult can know you're not in danger right now. Like, this is a parking spot. There's a Harris Teeter across the street. There are a bunch of other parking spots behind you. You could leave and come back to Target. Like, this is not, the stakes are not high. In that moment, when that happens, during the whoosh of when that happens, my body has not registered that this is not a high stakes situation.
Right.
So I kind of totally lost the question that you were asking. How's it different? So,
I don't know. I love this story so much. No,
what we're doing is we're addressing the part of us that wants to get for me, the part of me that wants to get the crowbar out and like fight for whatever it is that I'm afraid that I'm not going to get. That part doesn't care about communicating with my husband. That part doesn't care about my relationship with my husband. That part is just like, I will make this happen for you. And so addressing that part, getting awareness of it, noticing what I'm doing that is the problem, that is some of the destructive part of the destructive dynamic or destructive pattern, and then getting allergic to it, where I can now no longer do the thing that I used to be able to do because I know. And so
Right.
now it's like when you spit in the soup, you can't ever eat it the same way again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you wake up a little bit to the part of you that shows up, and it's not always with violence. People.
Not always. No.
Not always, yeah. For
Right.
some people, it might be like lots of fawning. It might
Right.
be trying to make
Exactly.
something better. It might be, I don't say what it is that I want because I just want to manage how you, partner, are behaving or feeling. So what I like about it is it addresses kind of underneath the pattern, and it really addresses it rather than saying kind of like, oh, how did it feel when such and such? It's like, wow, okay, you just showed up. Are you aware of how you just showed up? Like, let's talk about that. What's that like? In a loving way, and in a way that says, hey, me too. Like, I'm a fellow traveler on this path. This is not, and so are most human beings that I'm aware of. So this is not like a shame thing. This is, what did you learn? What did you learn from your environment as a way to show up that would keep you safe? And how can you update your system when you are in relationship with your partner not to respond in that same way? Now, those things will come up also in our familial relationships, like in any kind of really close, intimate relationships, that stuff is more likely to be activated.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I just went off on a tangent that was like too therapy speak.
No, well, I
there's
guess about
anything
the
unclear.
I understand it. Because
Okay,
again, like, I'm trained but not trained. And I love to nerd out with all of this stuff too. I think
yes,
it's so
me too.
yeah. One of the other questions I had for you too is, in going back to the workshop, I mean, Risa and I said, like, we kind of talked through, I mean, it's if you're considering this workshop, listen to the Risa one first, just because we kind of really lay out sort of like what to expect. We do a little bit of like FAQ, if you're feeling nervous, what about me versus my partner, like all these things. So listen to that one first. But in talking about this one, can you describe what it feels like to be in the room during a workshop and maybe share one of the most surprising reactions you've ever seen from one of the participants? So you don't have to give their story, but
yeah. Well, my favorite thing that has happened consistently is that there are couples or partners where one person clearly wanted to come to the workshop and the other person was
only
like,
ever happened once, right?
Okay,
just
if
that
I
one
have
time.
to. Yeah. And it has happened multiple times where I call it the dragger and the draggy, where the draggy is like proselytizing about the boot camp afterwards. They're like, I can't believe I said no to this. I can't believe it took me so long to say yes to this. I really got something out of it. I really believe in this information. It wasn't nearly as scary as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't nearly as I think a lot of people are afraid about the group aspect of it.
That was one thing that Reese and I talked through, but can you speak a little bit more to that? Because, it's not like, again, I do remember taking a class on group therapy and practicing and sitting in and because, again, different modality. That's group therapy. This is a workshop.
This is a workshop.
Right.
So it's much more psychoeducation, and then of working the psychoeducation through your own system and through your relationship system, like work through your own body, through your own thought process, through your own feelings. And people can share as they like and not share as they don't like. It's not airing dirty laundry of your relationship. It's not coming in to complain about your partner. In fact, we kind of set the stage for that not being something that happens. And it's more about kind of noticing, how do I show up, and what are some lenses and some ways that can help me understand and see how I show up, and what doesn't work, what happens in our relationship. A lot of times people come in and they're like, I'm not even sure why we're struggling in this way. The cool thing about it is that people have come in at many different stages of their relationship also. So people have come in who were just dating for a few weeks and people have come in who've been married for like 40 years, and people have come in. What?
The few weeks, I love that. That's awesome.
I know, me too. Like an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Like, I think that is such a fantastic idea to come in and really fortify, and there are people who have come into who have just been through breakups, and say, I want to understand what happened. I want to understand what was my piece in this. I want to do something different. I want to show up differently. I want to be able to recognize things differently. I want to have some tools. So, so the day is set up so that the first day is really psychoeducation around how do you show up. And then the second day is really skills, concrete skills for communicating, for repairing when there are ruptures. And one of the most exciting and fun things is the people who didn't expect much out of it and come out of it really having gotten a lot from it.
That's awesome. I feel like those bubbles are just the best. I feel like the dynamic of the dragger and the draggy is common. Obviously, that's kind of just par for the course. But where's my other?
I'll just add to that. I think people surprise themselves.
Yeah.
Some of the feedback that we've gotten, like we have a couple of quotes and stuff that we've taken out from the feedback, and it's like, I connected to my wife deeper than I've ever connected with her before. Yeah. Like any person who cares about their partner should come do this. Or these are skills for, like, any human being should have these skills for relationships. Like, really beautiful beautiful moments of people who I don't think are used to connecting with themselves or each other in this way. And it's a really special opportunity to get to spend a weekend with your partner or on yourself to work on this stuff. Like, what a cool thing to be able to do, because there's nothing more important. And I'm a couples therapist, but there's nothing more important than the relationships in your life. Yes. I mean, it literally predicts your longevity. And so what an important thing to spend the time and effort on, and what a gift to be able to do that.
Oh, I know. And I mean, one thing, obviously Terry Real says this, Reese and I talked about too, is like, we are born and wired for connection, for human connection. You mentioned the part about longevity. Well, that's it. You know what I mean? We are human beings. We're supposed to be together. You know what I mean? And I feel like, and through this modality, through this lens, I've applied a lot of this to friendships too, as I've gotten together.
Yeah.
And the same work that I've primarily done with myself, because the other person just wasn't fixable. However, yeah. So I think that's really a great point. And Reese and I made this point, and I want to make this here again too, that regardless, whether you are in a relationship or not, you can yes, you can still come as an individual, but I still wouldn't, you can still, yes, you can come as a couple. I said that backwards. Yes, you can absolutely come as a couple, of course. And I think that's probably most encouraged. I think that's how you can get the max benefit, but you can still come as an individual, and don't be afraid to come as an individual. Even if you're feeling like, oh, if I'm the dragger, my draggy just absolutely won't come, can't come, whatever. Obviously you can still get something out of this, but you can still, learning that information can still help plant the seeds, not only for yourself, because, you know, obviously the goal is to keep working on yourself too. But if you have that knowledge and information, it can obviously help the relationship no matter what.
Yeah, and I mean, if we get really lofty about it, it's a, you know, it can help your whole sphere,
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
this is about, like, how do I interact with people? How do I interact with people in a way that's accountable, that is connected and protected? How do I stop? You know, Terry Real has a quote that I love that says, family dysfunction rolls, this is something like it, rolls on from generation to generation like a fire in the woods until somebody turns and faces the flames.
Yep.
And that is so beautiful to me. And that can definitely be done as an individual, in or out of a relationship, because it's really about, when I am activated, how can I shift?
Yeah.
How can I shift? And the only person we can change is ourselves. And when we change ourselves, it's not uncommon that people and things change around us.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, even speaking for myself too, like, and even when you do make those changes for yourself, because, you know, if they start here, you know, the ripples, again, there's no timeline on the ripples. It can take, you know, years, it can take minutes, you know, there's really no saying, but it's still a ripple, and you got to believe in that. And just the paradigm shift is huge. I know it's been very huge for me, even though, again, the work is never done and the pace is its own pace, you know what I mean? But that's okay. But one of my last kind of questions for you too is, you know, kind of poking at the hard truth that couples don't want to hear. What's one uncomfortable truth about relationships that people resist but absolutely need to face if they want real change?
You are part of the problem.
No, I'm not.
It is not just your partner. It's not just your partner. That you, only you can change you, and that's worth it. Regardless of whether your partner changes. Who do you want to be in this world? How do you want to move through this world? How do you want to be in your community, with your family, with your friends, with your, you know, if you're employed in your place of employment, if you have children, what do you want to model for them? You have power. We each have power, and can move ourselves. And that's important work. My belief is that's really important work, probably to me, beyond kind of our food, shelter, etc., is some of the most important and most meaningful work of our lives. And so if we can be brave enough to look at the parts of us when we're activated that go into self-protection in ways that are destructive. And I use the word destructive, and I think a lot of people think of overt, like, you know, me and my crowbar, but covert also, like showing up and not, you know, sending the representative of yourself to try to please everyone. That's destructive also. Being kind of walled off and judgmental, or walled off and nothing's going to work. Those are destructive too. Destructive patterns aren't necessarily as,
they're not always overt. Did you say it?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So yeah, that's those things block our connection. And gosh, connection is so beautiful. There's such possibility and healing, but without accountability, there is no real change.
Right. I love that. And when you're talking just about being a part of the problem and recognizing that, you know, I think there's so many blame, shame cycles that exist in relationships. And it's easy to get stuck on that no matter which end of it you fall on,
Mhm.
but that is equally a contributor to that.
Mhm.
Like, 'cause it's always easy to point the finger, but there is, ineffective shelter in the finger
Mhm.
pointing, you know what I mean? And like, just like you said, that is kind of the adaptiveness, or what we might also call uh what's the word escaping me? Again, I told you my brain is fried today. I was going to say trigger for kind of the wounded child part, and then
Mhm.
kind of just your, well, I guess, maladaptive behavior, your the way that we sorry coping mechanism. That's kind of the other word a lot of people like will say,
Yeah.
how we ineffectively cope. But I think a lot of and I say a lot of people, I'm including myself in this, that we sometimes wear those coping mechanisms like a badge of honor. Like we put those
Mhm.
up, like, look what I've been able to do, I power through, and da 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 da. And again, Risa said it really well, like, our culture supports rugged individualism, not
Mhm.
healed connection, right? So we wear
Yeah.
those kind of things as like, hey, look what I've done, right? Look at all the and that's not necessarily by our fault, right?
Mhm.
Because they were survival mechanisms of how we got through. But the reality is, we can change those patterns. We can be a part of that change to help heal not only ourselves, not only our marriages, but our friendships. But I mean, there are even times too when I've been talking to my therapist, and again, I'm new and starting my own business, and in this whole field and things like that. Like, this is new to me. This is not what I studied and things like that. And
Mhm.
these same things apply. When I'm working with, I'm like, and I told her, and I said to her one time, I was like, and I'm forgetting the example, but I'm like, I am so glad that I've done the work, that I can have stronger boundaries and a stronger mindset while I approach this,
Mhm.
because I would not be able to stand on 2 feet,
Mhm.
um, and be able to be a business owner, walk into these rooms and network and talk about all these things if I didn't have this skill set. So
Yeah.
that's the point that I'm trying to make too, of like, obviously we are talking most specifically to a lot of relationships, marriages, couple relationships, but these skills cover everything, like you said, your whole biosphere.
Yeah. That I love that you said that, because there's a one of the things that we focus on is self-esteem and boundaries, and certainly that can be applied to the way
Mm-hmm.
you show up in the world in all different situations.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I am so excited to meet you in person, and I fear that I'm going to like you probably too much. Um,
No such thing. No such thing.
right. Exactly. Exactly. I was like, I feel like this energy is going to be, it is going to be too good almost, but I'm so excited for this workshop. Like I said, about a month countdown, and I think through the end of August, August 31st, right? There's still the deal
Yeah.
for buying your tickets. So be sure to take advantage of that ASAP. These spots will fill up. Your spring one filled up. I feel like they pretty much always fill up. So and you want to get your tickets now, while that you can kind of get that little like price snag. That's kind of the best way to do it. And the other thing to encourage you too is like, make a weekend of it. I know I'll be down there all weekend. And like I said, there's no football game, there's no Naval Academy stuff. So it's, right down the beautiful, you can experience the city
Uh,
with no stress. You'll literally have no stressors in your life. Right?
Annapolis is so fun.
It's so cute.
Annapolis is so fun. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait. I'm so glad that I got to pick your brain today. And I'm excited to see you September 20th.
Thanks, Claire. We're so excited to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Mom Talk Maryland. If you loved it, leave a review, share it with a friend, or tag me at the.columbiamom on Instagram. I'd love to hear what you think. And don't forget to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep showing up, keep supporting local, and keep being the incredible mom, woman, human that you are.